All right, everybody. I just got done interviewing Clarita Escalante, and she is the founder of Aligned Rituals. And this podcast goes through something pretty tremendous, actually. She's going to tell you all about her story, so I don't want to give it all away, but to entice you to make sure you listen to the whole thing. It is a little bit longer of a podcast, but we go all the way from her journey of where she was and who she was prior to her cancer diagnosis in 2018, and then who she has become since. So she talks about the victim mindset that she fell into and how she overcame that, and then what a gift it was that diagnosis actually was to her to propel her forward into what she does today. So this is an amazing podcast. I'm so excited for you all to listen to this one. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, but definitely make sure that you listen the entire way through on this one, because it is gold, I promise you. All right, everybody, we have Clarita here, the founder of the Aligned Rituals Wellness Box, right?
Yes. Thanks for having me. It's such an honor, and I can't wait to embark on this incredible conversation.
Yeah, we were starting to record it, and then I was like, we just started to talk, and then I was like, we have to hit the record button because we go too far into your story. So how did you... So I guess let's start back before. So you had a cancer diagnosis in 2018. What were you doing prior to 2018? Who were you in this life?
Oh my God, a completely different person. Completely different person. I was just moving myself up in the ladder of the corporate world. I was beyond stress. I was trying to juggle my kids. I was trying to juggle everything. And I was beyond stress. And I was that person that was doing everything for everyone and was running on empty every single day. And I knew in my body that it was not the way, that I couldn't continue doing that anymore. I would see my mom doing that, but she was a housewife. And I had a career, I had the kids. So I was trying to literally, live her life and on top having this career. And it was not serving me in any way. And back in 2017, during the summer, I had a mammogram schedule. Mm-hmm. And the only reason why I schedule is because I heard on the news that I should be having a mammogram every year if you're over 40. So I'm like, yeah. I should have it. So I scheduled it in the summer, canceled it several times, came December, and one of those, big mobile mammogram vehicles came to the corporate, to my corporate job. And it was easy. I went in, did it. They follow up with phone calls, and I never answered the phone call. It was during the holidays. Then come January, and in January, they sent a letter. And it was a scary letter, we need to contact you. We found some abnormalities. And that's how my journey began. I went into, I follow up. We did several tests. I did another mammogram, ultrasound, biopsy, and continue on. And during that time, I felt like, they're going to find something abnormal, and I'm going to be okay. When it came down to, I knew that every single test was coming back, not good. Yeah. I went and did a second opinion. So I ran all of those tests all over again. They came the exact way. And I had they finally, it's a long journey, but they ended up referring me to an oncologist. I went to the oncologist. I was the last appointment that day. And it was just so surreal because when I walk into that cancer institute, 6 months prior to my diagnosis, I donated 18 inches to a cancer association for wigs and for eyelashes. And the first thing when I walk in, it was that department where they have the wig and everything. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, I might need my hair back. So I had my appointment, and right there and then he told me, you have breast cancer, Clarita. And I literally went into a shock internally. I had no emotion. And the only thing that came out of my mouth that day was, I'm in training. I have something going on at work. I'll be back in 6 months. And he looked at me and he said, Clarita, I don't think you don't understand what I'm saying. Let me repeat myself all over again. And he did. And I told him, okay, just give me a month and I'll be back. And he repeated himself all over again. He said, no, Clarita, I have some appointments on Monday, but I can move things around and bring you into surgery. And at that moment, I was like, wow, I'm here and this is this serious. And it was a Friday afternoon. By this time, I haven't told anyone what my suspicious, because I didn't want to scare them. My daughter, that one was at NAU studying psychology. The youngest one was about to graduate from high school. And it was just, we were all over the place during that time. But I ended up saying yes to surgery out of fear. And I'll go into more details in reference to how I educated myself, because I promised myself that around that time, I will never make a decision out of fear. I will empower myself with education. And I'm not saying that even with all of the education that I have now and all of the research that I have done, that I will never make the same decision again. Sure. But at least you're coming from an empowerment place, from an education and knowledge place. And I left to the parking lot, and I was just emotionally on turmoil. The doctor followed me all the way to the parking lot.
Wow.
And Clarita, are you okay? I was like, not really, but I just looked at him, and he wrote his cell phone number, his private cell phone number, on a little sticky note. And he said, here's my cell phone number. Call me if you have any additional questions during the weekend. And he said, and if not, I'll see you on Monday. And he said, the reason why I follow you to the parking lot is because the majority of the time, there's two types of patients when I say this news, and it's either very emotional, which is completely normal, or a few patients react the same way you did, no emotion at all, and I just want to make sure you're okay. And I told him yes. As soon as I left the building, I was crying so much. My jaw is that crying where your jaw hurts to the point that you're like, oh my God. And I just couldn't believe that I was in that place. I just couldn't. And surgery came and gone. And I was living in this victim mode after that surgery for probably almost a year. I kept victimizing myself, like, why did it happen to me? And just literally victimizing myself. I mean, asking the questions that really were not serving me. And I feel like when you hear that word cancer, mentally, it does something to you so deep into it, just affects your soul so much. At least that was my experience. And one day I went for a run, and I was just crying so much because I just felt I couldn't be there in that rock bottom, not more 1 second, not more one day. And I'm like, I need to get out of this victim mode. And I came back from the run, went back to school, became a nutritionist, became a holistic coach, and all of these things because I wanted to understand my body functionality. And that was just so important to me because I'm like, I'm not going to be in this position again.
Yeah. And that's amazing too, because, with a lot of people's experience, with that, it does, you've got the fear, you've got the surgery, and then very rarely do they say, you know what, Clarita, these are the things that you should change, whether it's diet or lifestyle or exercise, to make sure that this doesn't happen again. They're just like, okay, we did our piece, good luck. And you're a very powerful woman. I already knew that from Megan and your conversation. Like, you're very powerful. So to be able to educate yourself as much as you did is very admirable. It's very commendable to make sure, yes, it doesn't happen for you. It doesn't happen for your kids. Then everyone is educated and is healthier from having gone through your experience. It's pretty amazing.
And you know what? Now that you mentioned that, after surgery, I went for a few visits just to make sure everything was healing and all of that. And I asked the doctor, the oncologist, Dr. Hernandez, I said, what do I need to do in order to not be in this position again? I asked, and looking back, I'm like, it was the wrong person to ask because he's an expert on surgery and that's all he does. So I know if I need a surgeon, I know who to go to.
Yeah.
But that his response back, and he's Hispanic, he told me, Clarita, you can eat all the chicharrones you want. And that's like foreskin, like a Mexican.
It's delicious. Yeah, I know what it is.
And he said, you can eat all of the chicharrones you want, live life. And it was so devastating to me. I knew he came from a good place.
Yeah.
I knew that statement came from a good place because he's not an expert in anything else other than being a surgeon.
Yeah.
And he maybe wanted to up, my spirits, but it was such a devastating answer for me.
Yeah.
Because moment I knew, oh my God, I'm going to be here in this position again.
So how did you take that victim mindset? Because the victim mindset is very real and it's very difficult to get out of. How did you muster up the courage and ambition to get out of the victim mode?
Oh my God. So several things happened to me. That was one of it. And then I was asked at that time by my corporate job October came around and they said, Clarita, we would like for you to share your story, your cancer story, since you are, part of this community now. Yeah. So I joined a panel. And unfortunately, I was not able to share my story in front of the people. I only was able to share the story through a newsletter and a blog because when I was there, I was listening to every single woman's story. Mm. There was 11 of them plus myself. Every single one of them, their cancer came back. Mm. And I was in this panic. Yeah. I was crying, not dramatically, but I just couldn't stop my tears. And it was like another confirmation. Oh my God, I'm going to be in this position again. It's coming back. It's just a matter of time. So every time I was being part, and again, this is just my own personal experience. Every time I was part of some sort of group and they have the best intentions for support, but it was just another confirmation. I'm just a survivor here. I'm just surviving. And when I realized that, and it took me a year, I was like, no, I need to find communities where they're thriving, where it's not just a cancer survivor, I'm a cancer thriver. Yeah. And that is the reason why I don't focus a lot of my things, the work that I do around cancer. I focus around the things that I want to impact and I want to bring value to my community. It's all about empowering themselves, not telling them what to do, but hey, we live in this incredible body of ours. And one of the things that really bothers me is when they fought cancer, because I'm just like, fuck cancer. No, that's like saying fuck your body, because cancer is just it has been such a gift for me, and we'll go into that, why I see it as a gift. But I feel that our bodies are speaking to us every single minute, every single day, and they're literally telling us. And the thing is that we live in this busy world that we don't even pause for a moment to just into our bodies and say, what do you need? How do you feel? We just don't. The body, before I got to that cancer diagnosis, I was living such a stressful life. And my body was telling me in so many ways. I just kept ignoring because I didn't have time to pause and be like, okay, what's going on? And that's the reason why I, on a personal level, see the cancer as a beautiful gift that came to my life, because it gave me the courage to step in the work that I have done for myself, and then I'm now doing for others.
Yeah. And when you were talking, there's a couple things that came up. Number one, you confirmed what I want to do for my next podcast series about entrepreneurs and the hustle and the grind. But basically, the amount of medications that entrepreneurs take to just ignore symptoms to push through to be successful. You just confirmed that. The other piece that I thought was really interesting, I know we're still 2 months technically away from Christmas, but it's like when you were on that panel, I'm huge with analogies, but it was like you were visited by the ghost of Christmas future, right?
Yeah.
And you were given that gift to be there. I mean, everything happens for a reason in our lives. It happens for us. It doesn't happen to us. And sometimes it takes us a while to understand it, but you immediately flipped a switch, and you were so gifted in a way that you were put in a company that probably triggered some of the cancer with how hard you were working, the stress, lack of sleep, and all of that. But then you were also given the gift of being on that panel. So it was like you almost kind of had to have that job. You had to be put on that panel, and then you had to have that emotional experience to release it. Be like, no, enough is enough. I'm done being a victim, and I'm going to start taking care of myself, and I'm going to make sure that other people are taken care of and empowered to take their health under control. I think that's beautiful.
Yes, because for me, it was cancer. For others, could be, diabetes or any other disease. And for me, it was really hard to really take responsibility of my health and to really say, oh my God, I brought this to myself. And it was a really hard thing to come to terms, because I often share what I just shared with you, that I was in this victim mode for a year. But when I started really doing that healing within, I realized I was in a victim mode for my whole entire life. and it is just manifested in this way for me of, cancer. And I know 1,000% that if it wouldn't be for cancer, I wouldn't be in this position. And it actually freed me from so much. And it's a work in progress. I'm still every single day. I do this. I work at my healing, my nutrition, my wellness, all of this. But as a kid, I went through so many hardships. There were so many challenges, so many traumas that I had as a kid. I was sexually abused. I grew up in a household that I felt like walking eggshells.
Yeah.
Like they were just my parents were so emotionally and verbally abused. And although I have a great relationship with them now, and I understand that they did what they could at that time. Yeah. And it was very hard growing up. And I brought all of those insecurities and all of those challenges that I had, trauma, all to my adulthood life, and not really healing anything. And everything amplified. I was always living in fear. Fear has been a companion of mine for
Yeah.
almost my whole entire 50 years. And it was just something that I was just like, although my life is different now, I still had the fear of, oh my God, I have these amazing things, but they're going to go away. Or this is what is happening. And all of the thrive that I was doing, all of the hard work, all of the things that I was doing, they were just being like, they were coming from a fear place.
Yeah.
I need to be the best in order for me to earn the place that I'm here. Like worth and enoughness was just almost zero in my existence.
Yeah.
So I had to do a lot of work. And without that cancer diagnosis, I feel like God or the universe came down and they're like, Clarita, we're going to help you because you're never going to get it. And that was the alarm. That was like the little alert that came to me. And it took me a year to realize that it was a gift. And now I feel like it was just one of the most amazing things that God or the universe have brought into my life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's heavy. I didn't know about the childhood piece. That is a lot to be carrying with you. And I'm really happy. I'm really proud of you putting in the time, work, and effort to help yourself to cope and reason and understand what happened. That's heavy.
And even if, I mean, you are, I feel like you're a geek like me when it comes to research. But there's so much research out there, even one latest from Harvard that said that 75 to 90% of the hospital visits come from stress, overwhelm, anxiety, depression, not being able to hold space for ourselves and feeling this uneasy feelings. And that leads to all of the disease that we see now, all of the things that we're struggling with health.
Yeah. It does. And yeah, there's no outlet for us anymore either. We're stuck behind computers or on phones or we're on the couches. Like our innate design has not been respected, I would say, in the last 50 plus years. There's nothing that people are doing. And I think that there is a resurgence. I'm hoping. I'm seeing a lot of people trying to buy some land or like be off grid or go do, like, for men, like go use an axe and chop down a tree or something, like go back to like our more primal roots to really tap into that. And I think that there is so much peace in that. And I know that I've done that personally. One of my good friends, Kyle Depius, he puts on these trips called the Guys Trips. And do you know Kyle? Actually, you might.
I don't know him personally, okay, but I have seen. Yes.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal human being, like just a great guy, and he has like this knack for bringing together really amazing people. And we went up, I think it was last year, we went up to Minnesota and just like chopped down wood, had this giant bonfire. We were walking on his lake out back was frozen over, so we were walking on the lake trying not to fall through. It was just fun stuff around the campfire, but the chopping down the wood and using chainsaw, and it was an amazing experience. But I think it's going backwards in time with how our bodies were designed to be in a day versus sitting still and not moving. And this also goes with kids too. I mean, your kids are older, but we lock our kids in these classrooms and we're like, stay still. Like, I can't even stay still, and I don't have as much energy as my son does, So I think this is a beautiful time in life for us to be able to peel back the layers of unhappiness and uneasiness as long as we do the healing. And a lot of times when you dive into those, whether it's breath work or sound healing or whatever other modalities you may have chosen, those layers come back, and then it's our job, it's our duty to respect our bodies and figure out how we can recover from those and make sure it doesn't happen in the future. So,
yes, and I think it's so important. And I feel that is the reason why I host retreats as well. And I am just so amazed at Kyle's work because I feel like there is a lot of retreats for women. There's a lot of options that can come together.
Yeah.
But I don't see that a lot for men. And men needs this as well.
Yeah.
And I'm just so amazed at that, and I'm just so proud of him that he, stepping into doing things like this, because we all need time to just pause and just connect with ourselves and connect with others. And it's just so important. And I feel that at the beginning of my journey, I was like, as a nutritionist, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to impact the world with, all of my recipes that I'm going to create, which I did. I created like over 1,200. And then I realized, well, it's not just nutrition that is impacting my life now. It's the movement that I do, is the lifestyle that I have now. Like I mentioned, like my rituals or my modalities, the resources, all the things that I do is a combination of all of it. And I said, I wouldn't be fair to just be sharing nutrition tips when there is so many things that we need to do together. I get a lot of questions in reference to, and that's one of the things that I kind of like hold myself back on sharing, like supplements, because a lot of, what are the supplements that you're taking? And we're always looking for that outside, pill, that magical thing that is going to solve everything within inside. And I can tell you, doing this work for almost 5 years, just personally on my own, is that yes, I love biohacking tools. I love supplements. I feel like supplementation is exactly that. It should be to supplement something that, you're a little bit low. And you as a naturopath doctor know the importance of testing, let's ask what is that your body needs, because each of us, we need different things to be able to function at the level that we need. And I tend to share supplements that I know they're beneficial to everyone, but not share all of the supplements that I take. And I feel like a lot of times we're asking for supplementation, for example, but we're like on step 10 versus like starting on step 1, and I love the word rituals, but it can be like habits or things that you do every day. For me, it's more important of the things that you do every single day, like walking, moving your body. It can be workout, exercise, whatever you want to call it. The relationships that you have with others, the time that you have for yourself to be able to recharge and like connect with your body and say, how does it feel? How do I feel? What is that I need? And those are the things that have impacted my life more than all of the biohacking things that, again, I completely love. But I feel like there are certain things that are so fundamental. You have to have a strong foundation. I mean, it's sleep, water, nutrition, lifestyle, like all of those things. And I think a lot of people are like, that's too hard. Just give me that magic pill.
Or they'll ask you, like, what was your specific type of cancer? We're like, oh, Susie has that cancer. What did you take to help with yours? And then they want to, it's like, no, it's not a one size fits all. It's like, there's more than one road that leads to this destination. And we need to understand that. And I stumble across this so often where like, I'll have new patients that will come in and be like, oh, I've tried this. I've gone here. I've done this. I've done this diet. I've done this. And like with what I do, it's not, I mean, anyone who's worked with me knows that I'm not like your standard doc by any stretch of the imagination. And half of my consults now are more like therapy sessions where I'm helping people through tough times, or like, they'll be like, doc, I'm coming to you, but I can't sleep. I can't fall asleep at night. I'm like, why? I don't know. I have all these thoughts going in my head. And so then I put on my detective hat and I start peeling back the layers. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And there's some people where, an example of one of my friends, her husband fought overseas, came back, and he had real bad PTSD. And she's like, I can't get a good night's sleep. And if I would have just taken it as that, I could give her melatonin, CBD, just like take cannabis, something knock you out. Or I could be like, well, what's going on at night? And when I did that, she was like, well, my husband thinks that terrorists are attacking him in the middle of the night. So he jumps up, screams, yells, flipping around. So she has this superficial sleep all night long so she doesn't get accidentally hit by her spouse. I'm like, well, I can't. Melatonin's just going to make you be like a dummy for him to hit. Like, that's not what we need. So there's more than meets the eye when it comes to this stuff, and supplements are designed. That's why I use herbs and tinctures and extracts, but I still call them supplements because I think the value of that word is very important, because you're right. It's supplementing deficiencies and it's supplementing your current state of health, be that your diet and lifestyle, right? If you never eat a vegetable in your life and I give you a greens powder or like a fruit and veggie powder or something like that, well, you're probably going to always have to take that because you're not eating it from your diet. So it's different, but I love that you appreciate that as well, because too many people are trying to take too many things and it's not working.
Oh my God, yes. And it's just so many things that sometimes it's like, is this even aligned with the goals that you have?
Yeah.
We don't even ask that elementary question of what is the goal that I have? And a lot of the times people, and you probably have more experience because you work with your clients, but they're at the end of the day, we're after a feeling. I want to feel energized. I want to be able to go and play with my kids. We're after a feeling. And what it comes out of our mouths is like, oh, I want to have a six pack, which there's nothing wrong with that. But, we come with this like out of things that that they're not really the goal that you want. Yeah, you want a six pack, but you want to feel energized. And I feel when you really go deep into it and really get to that desire, that feeling, that's when you really know, okay, now that we know what your goal is, now we can go from there. And I feel like another question, and you probably get asked this question a lot, like, what is the best diet right now? Is it intermittent fasting? Is it keto? And I'm just like, just eat real food. If you are already not eating whole food, the majority of the time, start with that. Like, just eat more real food. And I love a quote from Dr. Amen. And he gets this question a lot. And he said, eat more of the food that makes you happy. And that, when I was listening to that podcast and he said that, I literally stopped and rewinded because it blew my mind. I was just like, oh my God, this is so deep. Because if you really make a space to connect with your food and really, when you eat something, how does it make you feel? Does it make you fresh? Does it make you feel energized? Or does it make you, after you eat something, does it make you feel like tired, like bloated? And I feel like sometimes we ask for the solutions outside of us or expect the answers from others instead of just making the space for ourselves to say, how does this food, make us feel?
Yeah. And that's a beautiful question to ask around lunchtime. Because one of the most common things that I'll see or hear from people is, I have an afternoon dip in energy. I'm like, what'd you eat for lunch? And they're like, no, it's like 2 or 3 o'clock. I'm like, yeah, exactly. What did you have for lunch? And it's usually some really bad meal, or they're grabbing stuff out of like a vending machine, or they're on the go somewhere. I'm like, can you pack something, or at the very least do like a healthy protein shake, throw some greens or something in there too, and drink that instead, and let me know how your energy is. And 9 times out of 10, they're like, I feel fantastic. I'm like, good. So now you don't need that coffee that is now keeping you up at night and you can't sleep. And it's because you ate a better meal for lunch, gave you energy for the remainder of the day and the evening, and then you're able to wind down naturally on the other end of it and get sleep, which then creates more energy for the next day.
Yes. And it's just so important. And again, for me, it's a work in progress. That is something that I remind myself every single day as well. And I'm not perfect, but I have learned so much by really taking accountability and of the way that I have been living. And I'm like, I want to feel better. I want to feel energized. I don't want to have this fear. Another thing that I did, and again, I'm not suggesting this to anyone that is going through a cancer diagnosis, but one of the things that was, so I was doing all of that. I went back to school, studying nutrition. I was moving, forward. And then I realized that I was in this like hamster wheel, I call it. So when I had surgery, I decided not to go with radiation and chemo, because their explanation to me was, when we cut, we can spread, and radiation and chemo can kill whatever was possibly spread. I, on a personal level, decided not to. And they had me on this every 3 months, going for mammogram, ultrasound. And I was just going to be on that. So a little bit over a year ago, I decided I'm out. Out, and I'm going to do the best possible for my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I mean, doing all of the things that I just mentioned, nutrition, eating more real food, and bringing my nervous system down, finding modalities that really aid that. And I decided to get out of there because I felt like every 3 months before that appointment came out, my hair was falling. I would get acne and all these other symptoms. And it was that fear of sitting down and then them coming back and say, oh, Clarita, I'm sorry, I see you in 3 months. And it was just that devastation, of like emotionally is so hard. And I have talked to so many other cancer survivors who, in my opinion, I call them thrivers.
Yeah, I love that, by the way. That's a good word.
I'm like, I'm not just surviving here, I'm thriving. And I have spoken with them and they're like, yes, that happens to me too. Every time I go into a visit, like all these weird things happen, or I have 2 days down because emotionally I can't. And it's just so devastating because the same thing that you're trying to avoid from coming back, you're actually contributing to that. All of that stress. Sometimes we think that toxins is just, the things that you eat, the things that you put on your body, that we forget about the most toxic part. And that's like emotions. That is your internal communication with yourself. And I was like eating all of this, organic food, grass-fed meat. And internally, I was still so toxic with myself because there was this fear and no meditation. I love Joe Dispenza. No meditation. Nothing was like coming to save me because I was in this like thing of, every 3 months, I was like waiting for their approval in a way. Like, oh, did I pass the test? No, you didn't. Oh. And I mean, the radiation and all of the things that come from those tests in combination with all of the toxicity talks that I had, I was like, I'm not really helping my situation here.
Yeah. There's a doctor that I'm not sure if you've looked him up or not. I think he's actually passed, but his name is Dr. Gonzalez, Nicholas Gonzalez. And he had a book, and I have it. I think it might be on my bookshelf over there. But he talks about eating for your cancer, eating for like your nervous system. So what he kind of quantified was when you have solid tumors, so like breast cancer, prostate cancer, those types of things, it's usually an issue with the nervous system that you're sympathetically dominant. So like high level sympathetic active. So it's usually the high level achievers in the corporate world, like the stressed out all the time, moms, like the level of stress plays into that. And so he's like, well, for diet, make sure that you downregulate that immune system, work on a vagus nerve, get you back into a nice homeostatic state, and then make sure that you're eating enough of like the vegetables and those types of things too, so that you could bring down the sympathetic tone. Red meat can sometimes spike that sympathetic tone. So he's like, do that a little bit more sparingly, but listen to your body as well if you need it, because we need iron, we need other nutrients and stuff from the meat. So I think it's really brilliant that you were able to kind of catch on to that. And that's why like I cracked this huge smile. You're talking about a very serious topic, but like I was just smiling from ear to ear. I'm like, she's speaking my language. Like, this is such a good podcast. I love this already.
Oh my God. Well, thank you. I love this conversation as well. I feel that I learned so much through this journey that I really wanted to come and bring all of the things that I have learned from this journey and share it with others. And I think it's just so important. I know a few women. I don't know if you know Chalene Johnson, but Chalene Johnson has a friend, Jan, who is a cancer survivor as well. And she has an incredible community. She's thriving and she's sharing all of these things. And we were able to really come together and collaborate in a lot of the things because we just so align with the how we think about cancer and what are the things that really work for us. And I think there should be more of you, more of Jens, and more of us sharing, the thing that really makes a difference. Because I felt like prior to my diagnosis, I was waiting like for this magic pill to arrive and fix everything for me. And although it could be very attractive to just fix it, I don't want to do the hard work. That I think that hard work really is something that I have been embracing a lot. Hasn't been, it's simple but not easy. And I think everyone can do it, but it is hard and it's not easy, but it's not impossible. You don't have to become, a doctor. You don't have to become a nutritionist. I feel like a lot of us know so much more about our phone or the functionality of other things than the functionality of your own body. And it's like, this is who we are. This is how we show up for ourselves and for others. And I feel like you just need to know a few things to be able to live an amazing life, like the life that you deserve. Again, you don't have to become an expert, but you do have to know a few things to be able to run with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And what were some of those, because you have the Align rituals and you have the wellness journal as well. Did you incorporate that into then the journal that you did?
Yeah, well, at the beginning of my healing journey, journal came along, and it was one of those modalities that I had the hardest time because I would just sit down and I'm like, I have nothing. But my head was like overwhelmed. It was like running 1,000 miles per hour. And I'm like, I have nothing. And I feel like it grew on me. And now it's something that I can like live without it. I feel like when you really, there's a magic that happens when you put pen to paper. And for me, it's such a release because if we want to make space for the life that we want to create, we have to make space in our minds by releasing all of those thoughts that no longer serve us. And when I was thinking about, what should be my first product that I can serve people in a really big way, and journaling came along, and I'm like, I'm going to start with journal. Now I'm releasing the wellness ritual box, which is I'm going to do all of the work for you guys, all of the research, and bring together products that are really going to be enhancing your life, your wellness. They're going to be non-toxic, organic, clean products that are not going to disturb your hormones or anything like that, that even your kids can use it. So that is the ritual box is going to be coming up quarterly. And then in the future, right now we're working, coming soon, on some supplements and some mushroom coffee. So a lot of exciting things coming in the future.
That's amazing. And all of this stemmed from really that diagnosis. Otherwise, you probably would have still been stuck in the corporate world.
Oh my God, 1,000%, 1,000%. And now I see like some of, friends or entrepreneurs now, they're just like, Clarita, how are you always so like calm and just relaxed and you're just so happy? And they don't know it was almost a year journey that I am, it took almost 6 years. And I'm just like, it has been a really difficult journey, but such an amazing journey because it's so funny because I never tried to change anything of the things that I was doing with my family. But now my husband journals, he meditates, he does all these things. And it's just I feel like sometimes as a parent, we try to tell our kids, or tell our kids, you're the best, you can do anything. But I think it's so important to show our kids to
Yeah.
demonstrate, what is possible for them. Because if they see it in you, they will see it in themselves.
Yeah. So much beauty in that. Yes. And I want to like take a minute too to let other women out there know your men can and will eventually turn around if you're if you're putting in the work yourself and you're seeing the progress and you're seeing the results. As long as your husband isn't face deep in a cell phone, he'll be able to see that, and then usually that'll lead them to start asking questions. And then you already kind of did the research for them, like, hey, it works. And they're like, okay, well, if it worked for you, then maybe it'll work for me too. And then they'll start kind of doing their own journey. My biggest thing is don't try to in this type of instance, don't try to force your husbands to do something against their will. They'll always fight back. Most men need to be right people, and they need to be right, so it needs to be their idea. So do your work, show them that it works, and then they'll follow through as well. So that way it's another way to eliminate stress for you, because I know a lot of women are like, I'm growing but my husband's not doing it. I'm like, just give him time. You work on you right now. Don't get mad at him for that. Work on you. He'll come around. As long as he's supporting you, we're in the good.
Oh my God, what you just said, yes. And just rewind and listen again, because it's so true. Because I mean, anyone, when we're told what to do, we're like, nah, no. And I feel especially men, you're 1,000%. Rewind this and listen to them again. But it's just, that was not even in my mind, because I was just so focused on like, oh, okay, I need to make a difference in my own life. And it was weird because like a few years back, he's like, hey, do you have an extra journal? And I was like, what? And he's like, oh, I'm journaling. And it's so funny because I would like geek out on him, and he might be like, oh my God, here she comes again.
Yeah.
Studies, but I would be like, oh my God, like this and this and that. He's like, oh, kind of like, good for you.
Yep.
And he listens to Joe Rogan.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh my God, Clarita, I was listening to this doc and they were talking about this, and I knew what they were talking about because you have told me. I was like, oh, now it is you because Joe Rogan said it.
It's true.
But it is true. It is. So now, supplements that I have told him about it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is an amazing supplement. I'm taking it for this and that and that. It's like, oh, okay. And then he'll listen, somewhere else. And then he'll come and ask me for it. But yeah, not even in a million years, I would thought that he would be journaling and meditating and doing all of these incredible things. And that's why I mentioned earlier that men need this so much, so much. They need at the same level that we need it as well, just in a different way.
Yeah. And
I love what Kyle is doing. And I think more men should be doing this type of, communities where they can bring men in, and we can really heal, because we all have trauma. We all have challenges. They just look different. And we all need that support.
Yeah. And positive people being around you as well. That's probably one of the biggest things. And I know I always bring this up when I talk about cancer, but have you ever watched the show Breaking Bad?
I watched part of it, yes.
Okay. So everyone was like, oh, it's the best show in the world. It's the best show in the world. And I was like, I don't want anything to do with it. And then one of my buddies back in Texas gave me the box set DVDs of the movies or the show. I'm like, all right. So I put it on there. And I'm watching the first couple episodes, and he gets diagnosed with cancer or whatever. And he goes, I'm not going to do chemo. I'm not going to do radiation. And it's like they have an intervention and turn on him, and they try to like eat him. Like, no, you have to. That's the only way. So like when you are turning and pivoting, you have to be very strong from within. And you can't have that codependency necessarily of everybody around you. You have to just kind of forge your own path. And then the more time spent, and you're still like 6 years or so for you to really forge your path. In time, they'll look at where you were and they're like, okay, Clarita's really serious about this, so let's get it behind and support her along the way. So men is the same way. It's really hard for men to find like-minded people. Most men are absolutely miserable, working 9 to 5s. They know that they're called for something better, but they just choose not to, mainly because we've always been told, like, just work the 9 to 5, get the good health insurance, take care of the family, and die. Basically, that's men's role.
Mm.
So, like, Kyle's doing the outdoor wood stuff. My other buddy, Johnny L. Sasser's doing, like, the crazy shooting wild man experiences. Like, there's, like, two polar ends of it, but you get two great sets of people from that. So if you're a man listening to this, I encourage you, look at guys trips, look at wild man experiences, or look for just camaraderie around you, because I think as humans, we are designed for community. I mean, even when we're in neighborhoods, we still struggle to even know who the heck our neighbors are. And I think that that's like one of the worst things in the world. Like, I really enjoy trick-or-treating this year. We don't give our kids candy. We swap it out for a toy. For any sticklers who is listening to this, like, candy. No. But we got to meet all of our neighbors, because a lot of our neighbors don't really come outside. So being able to have that community, being surrounded by good people that will lift you up and support you with your dreams and goals is very important for people if they're heading out on this type of journey.
Yes. And I feel that was so important in my own journey to healing, to see other women or other people that have gone through something similar to me, or that had a lot of knowledge in this. For me, podcast was it. I mean, I have my own podcast,
Yep.
and I feel like that is the reason why I started it, because the podcast was such an incredible part of my journey. I listened to Sean Stevenson, I listened to Dr. G, and just so many incredible people out there who really have no agenda other than really just telling us how the body functions, and all of the options, and let us decide what is our best option. And I feel like, as a cancer survivor, yes, having boundaries and really believing in yourself and know what is right for you, it's so important, along with educating yourself. And if you're a family member or you're a friend and you have a cancer survivor, please do not ask every time you see that person, how's your cancer? Are you okay? Or give like stories of people that have passed away due to cancer. It's like, do not do that. Please don't.
I had a feeling I knew you were going. I was like, oh gosh, like, it's horror. Like, everyone's all about sharing like horror stories. It's like cancer, or even like with pregnancy and miscarriages and stuff. It's like they treat it the same way. Like, you're a diseased person, you always will be. Like, what the heck? Like, just let me live my life. I had a great Tuesday, and now you're bringing this on me. I'm good. Like, I'm good. I'm not watering that seed of doubt. Like, no way.
Yeah.
Well,
just a reminder.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that little PSA on that one. Public service announcement. Well, with the so you've got the journal, you've got the box now, the ritual box that's coming out, which I was really excited about that. Megan and I were literally in the car yesterday talking about it. We were pumped. You have the retreat, which I think, if I got the dates right, it's February 23rd through 25th, and
Yes.
it's Sedona, correct?
Donut, yes. And there's only one spot available.
Okay.
It is incredible. I feel like retreats, and again, like, I think when you surround with the right people and have a good intention, they can be an incredible experience. And for me, retreats have been, again, another tool that I put in my toolbox to really heal from within. And that's exactly what I'm doing here at my retreat. I don't know if you know Chef Ash, but she was on the Food Network. She was nominated as the top 25 private chef in Arizona. But this is the third year doing the retreat with me, and she will be the chef. So awesome. I will be the one creating the meal, and then she will be the one making them really, really tasty and good. But the way that I bring the retreat for me is to show a little bit a piece of my journey with the guests. So from the food that we create, I try to create balanced meals every single meal, So when they taste that and when they enjoy that meal, then they can see how it feels to really eat a balanced meal. And from the modalities that I bring in, and all of the modalities that have really impacted me in a beautiful way, to really talk about the importance of really bringing your body to a calm state and really taking the time to reflect and taking space for yourself so you can show up in a bigger way. So we go for a hike, and we actually, in this property that I'm renting, we have a private hike to the Oak Creek Canyon.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so it's just amazing. I'm so excited. So everything that I include is so intentional, and it's just a reminder of how beautiful our bodies are. And if we give the right environment, they can flourish so much. And our bodies don't need that much. There's a few things that you can do every single day to really feel your best. And of course, there's other things like supplementation, like we mentioned, biohacking, and all the things that you can do. But I feel like for you to go to all of those items, you have to first have a strong foundation within yourself to really jump into the other thing. And that is something that I really stress throughout the retreat. And I'm just so excited.
Yeah. Well, so you only have one spot left in this one. So hopefully we can help you to fill that spot. But if it's already filled, do you just do one a year? How often do you do these retreats?
Yes, it's one a year. And then we have journals with me throughout the year. So there are in-person events, an hour and a half or so, which Megan and I, your wife, we're going to collaborate next year on one of them. But yeah, it's just I try to bring those in-person events as well, so people can experience different modalities. Because yes, I have the journal and I'm so passionate about the journal, but I also want to showcase other modalities that have really impacted me as well by bringing an expert, by bringing that other person that is very passionate around that modality, and let them choose, the one that really speaks to them. So yeah, I have those. And then I have some live podcasts that I love to do in person. And yeah, they can connect with me through Instagram, listen to the podcast, or go and check all of my products at alignedrituals.com.
I love it. Yeah, please do. Everyone who's listening, go and follow her. We'll make sure that all of that is going to be in the show notes and stuff so you can follow along. And one of the things that I do try to pride myself on is that authenticity piece, where if I bring somebody on as a guest, I'm very selective of who I allow to come on the show, because I want them to always be their authentic self. And you have never changed from the first day that Megan met you. She talked about you, and I'm like, piqued my interest more and more and more. And then it was like, I don't know, I feel like it was the perfect time to shoot this podcast today. For whatever reason, I feel like it was the perfect day to choose it, even though we've had to bump the schedule around and stuff. But I think that there's just a lot that you have to offer. You've got a heart of gold over there. And from the retreats and the things you offer, you have diets as well, like recipe plans and stuff on the website. So some recipes and stuff on there too. Like, go check out our website, go check out our Instagram. You're all over the place, and in a good way. And I love it. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your morning here today and joining me on this show. I'm so excited to see where you go. And just from person to person, if there's anything that I can do besides getting you on the podcast to help and support you, don't ever hesitate to reach out, shoot me a message or however you want to, and I'm happy to support you. Okay?
You need to come to my podcast, because you have a lot of knowledge in my community.
I could do that. I could accept that invite. So we'll do part 2 over there then.